Hey everyone, Tom here, back with another episode of Metallica. You may have noticed that we've concluded our original journey. What we set out to do was to review every single Metallica song, one by one, episode by episode, in alphabetical order, with guests, from around the world. And that finished, I think, pretty much at the end of the year. I believe, what was it? You Really Got Me was the last song we covered, which was obviously their cover of the Kinks track on the 2010 album, All My Friends, I think, with Ray Davies. But we did that. I did that solo. That was like the close of the year. It was dark out. I think I was playing Fallout 4 on PlayStation Now or something. It was one of them ones, and that ended. And then we've been doing other stuff. We've been talking about Glastonbury and Metallica. We've been talking about, when James Hetfield was on the Rogan Experience. We've done the long form episodes on Jason Newsted, the mega histories. We've got a Cliff one coming up, by the way, actually tomorrow at the time of us recording this. Myself and Reed are going to record, a big exploration of Cliff's history and musicality. And we're just parlaying into new ventures. We're keeping it Metallica focused. But we're just kind of indulging the host to a certain extent. We're having guests on that are just fans of the band, like we all are, and, discussing their work and their appreciation. And, I've got to be honest, this episode might be a little bit of a ruse. You might be like, why is this guy on the Metallica podcast? He's a Metallica fan, but so what? But I am such a giant fan of my guest today. He's absolutely one of my favorite YouTubers, content creators. His name's Rob Kellas. You may have heard of him, and he is just, it's kind of hard to explain. It's a very enjoyable, witty, amiable, real kind of mate show of 20-somethings, but they go to festivals and they love music, and long live the TPD. Rob, how's it going?
It's going great, mate. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so pleased to be here, and that's a great intro.
No, I mean it. I remember, one of the series that Rob has on his channel is called Best Camp, where, they are avid festival goers, him and his crew, and they go to Leeds regularly and download and film these huge vlogs with loads of fans, and, tons of crazy stuff that we'll get to have gone down in those. So that series has been going for a long time, and I remember searching, it must have been like May of 2017, I think, or whenever Download was, of that year. Download had just happened. And I literally went on YouTube and just put download 2017, that was it, and it came up Best Camp. It came up the thumbnail of, I think, you, Jake, and Callum, I think's on that one. And, I watched, and I was just enamored, and...
oh, amazing.
I mean, again, people maybe aren't going to be like, what is... Let's talk about Lars over here, but, in terms of you and a content creator... What's so crazy to see, and I hate to use that term, but you know what I mean? What's so mad to see is the growth of what's happened with the channel. Like, you go back and look at the old videos, and it's literally you guys just in secondary school and whatever on some bad camera phone. And now it is just like the Route 66, or you guys actually headlined the first day of Leeds Festival and got a giant crowd. When I watched that, I was tears in my eyes.
Yeah, we're getting there slowly but surely, mate. It's still very much a work in progress, but I'm very proud of the progress we've made thus far over our what's now probably 12 years. So it's not been a quick one, but no. We just love creating, and it's great when we get to kind of do cool things like the Leeds Fest thing that you mentioned, and go to Download every year. It's great when we get to do things like that.
And it should be said as well, one of the features of these videos are you guys camping, and obviously you encourage everyone to come over, and everyone's there, and a lot of people are, it's the highlight of the weekend. I know for sure if I was at one of these things, you're swamped with people. It must be mad to experience that. That's quite a rare thing to happen to a human being, to have, fans mobbing them.
It's very strange, yeah. First of all, it's great. And
of course. It's just,
we can't. It's hard to kind of put into words. It's something we really appreciate everyone that does come over. But the weird thing with us is because we're kind of in that kind of awkward middle ground where we all have full-time normal jobs, and we're kind of like these pseudo celebrities for maybe one weekend or a few weekends of the year. So it's very strange having so many people that come over and say hello, but then you're straight back into the 9-to-5 grind, on the Monday morning. And so it's quite unique in that way, I think. It's It's mad. It is mad, but it never gets old, and we really kind of treasure those moments because, fundamentally, as I say, we just straight back on the 9 to
Yeah.
5. So it's really cool to kind of taste a bit of what that lifestyle would be like.
Definitely, and less people think we're shoehorning Metallica in here. In the latest video, your Bene Kassim Spain video, do you remember the little Metallica reference in the video?
Oh yeah, we went to me shouting, "Give me fuel, give me fire, give
That's
me that
right.
which is that," right? We went to first of all, I love Metallica, and I have done for many years, and we'll come on to that.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But yeah,
I would hope so as well. It would be a horrible. Yeah.
It would be a terrible idea doing this without any Metallica content.
That despise them, yeah.
But we went to this little bar, and I can't remember what it was called. It was in Barcelona, and the thing that drew us into this bar was the guy looked like James Hetfield. So we go in, and this guy he kind of did look like James Hetfield, maybe not so much, but we were like, that guy looks like Papa Het. So we go in. And then he let us put some music on, and we put Master of Puppets on. I was like, the first thing I put on, I was like, let's put Master of Puppets on, see how the bar reacts. It's pretty empty. And the guy was loving it. The guy behind the bar was loving it. And then the owner came over and was like, people say I look like the guy from Metallica. And we were like, no, no way. But that was the only reason we got in the bar, because he looked just like Hetfield.
And, this beginning then with Metallica, like I became aware through watching the videos that you're always rocking the Master shirt. That's kind of what one of the outfits, whatever. Like it's kind of a recognizable.
That shirt, that's got some miles on it. That shirt, that's the oldest piece of clothing I own. It's vintage now. But
it looks vintage. It looks like it's from the 70s, even though it's from like a HMV.
It does. It was an HMV, one of those £10 ones.
Oh, those
I must
tubes.
have got that in like 07 maybe. And I love that. It's probably my favorite t-shirt by a mile. Just because it's got so many miles under its belt.
So where does it begin then for you and Metallica? Like we're sort of similar ages or influences or whatever. So can you remember the first time that you were aware of them as an entity? Like.
Yeah, I do remember. It was when I was in high school. Throughout my school kind of career, I was mainly into like hip hop. But I always, like my parents always liked rock music, but never anything metal, really.
Yeah.
I think probably the heaviest was like something like Guns N' Roses, so nothing like super heavy. And then this guy that I went to school with, he told me about this album that was kind of infamous, called Saint Anger, which now I'm very familiar with. And it was kind of something to hate on, and it was a cool thing to hate on. But I had no frame of reference. I had nothing to be like. This friend was like, "You should listen to this," or "How crazy is it? It's so different. It's such a departure." But I didn't know what it was a departure from. So that's kind of what kind of got me into the rabbit hole, where I then started kind of digging and discovering some of the earlier Metallica stuff. And then I could join the Let's Hate on Saint Anger club, as was trendy at least at the time.
Are you still in that club, Rob? What is Saint Anger for you?
No, not at all, man. No. Like, I mean,
it's great. I don't get the hate. I get it, but like,
I've not really. I would consider myself a big Metallica fan. Make no mistake, but I've not really had a deep dive on Saint Anger. I've listened through many times, but there's even songs where I couldn't like put a name to them. But the kind of, I think some of the more well-known stuff off that album, Some Kind of Monster, the title track, Frantic.
Oh yeah.
I think those are great songs. They come on in the car and they certainly don't get skipped. It's kind of a return to. It's just the snare that people have issue with, really. I think if that was a normal snare, if the snare was on that drum, I think it'd get a lot less hate. And that's not exactly a profound thought. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But you think how heavy that Saint Anger intro is with the double bass going all the way through it. Like, people would, during load and reload, like, people were begging Lars to do stuff like that. And then he does it, and it's like, right, it's not good enough now for people. And I was one of those haters, mate. admit.
No, I get it. I remember hearing it again, and just it does sound really tin-eared, like, and you kind of have to get used to it as part of the aesthetic. But I think the riffs on Saint Anger are, incredible.
It's mostly tuned down, isn't it? Are they in
Very
like,
low, yeah, like drop C, yeah.
or
It's very new metal, like it was very of the time, like.
Yeah, it sure was. And only recently I rewatched Some Kind of Monster, which obviously goes through them kind of recording that and all the kind of trials and tribulations that they had. And I think like that, watching that it kind of gives you another type of appreciation for the album, because you kind of see what they've gone through while they've been making it.
Yeah, it's unparalleled torment, right?
Cool.
Like recording albums are normally quite not relaxing, but you know what I mean. It's just kind of get it done sort of thing. But they were going through true anguish throughout that. Like.
Absolutely, yeah. I always think of that scene, bless him, where James slams the door after he's had that argument with Lars.
Yeah.
And he just slams this door, and I just think, God damn, I feel like I've been there with my friends a few times. Probably nowhere near, but we can all relate to that door slamming that James does.
Oh my God. Like, honestly, like, you watch all these videos, they're on Loudwire and stuff like that, but there's lots of Metallica individual ones where the mega fan meets James and, doesn't know what to do. Like, low-key, I would feel the same way about Bridie, like, who's a member of Rob's channel. I would just I'm in awe of the man, quite frankly.
You may not recognise him if you were to meet him now, my friend.
He's lost a lot of weight,
of his body weight.
Oh, he looks incredible. And to do that in lockdown
he does look
as well.
Good.
Just,
yeah.
But I actually asked him to come on the show for a podcast, I think, a year ago, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm down." Like, I remember he's quite a podcast fan, right? He was listening to like Rogan.
He loves
at
it.
The festival.
He loves it, man.
You guys are partying, and he's listening to Joe Rogan in his tent. I'm like, that guy's serious. Like...
But do you know what, mate? He's true to himself, I suppose.
Yeah, no, he's still the goat. But it's just like
we were driving down Route 66, mate, and we're blasting out some music, and he's there with his little headphones in. Listening to Joe Rogan. I actually just, no word of a lie, just this week watched my first ever Joe Rogan, and it was the Hetfield one.
Oh, brilliant episode. I mean, I was going to say, have you watched Post Malone was on it today? I don't know if you saw that.
I tried watching some of it. I think that went up maybe last night, and I put it on, and then I saw it was like 4 hours long. I was like, man.
It's an indulgent, yeah, it's one of those sort of animal videos. But what did you think of the Hetfield episode?
I love it, man. I thought it was great. I think James is he seems like so down to earth, and he's like a father figure of that scene of like the whole like rock crowd. I see him as he's like Papa Het, right? That's his nickname. So he just seems to have so much insight, so much knowledge to all the stuff that he's learned. So I was just hanging on his every word, even when he's talking about stuff I have no interest in, like bees.
Like
right?
bees,
Bees.
I think it's about a quarter of the episode is on bees.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's great. It's het, but yeah, you're right.
But I was hanging on his every word. I love when they start talking about like how they've got like their own record press.
Yes.
Like that's the cool thing about Metallica. They're such a giant, a titan of their industry that they can do this stuff like on what must be an almost unparalleled level.
Well, Rob,
these guys have so much.
We always say that there's like you can't compare Metallica to other bands because no other band does a world tour and has just songs from each night professionally shot and edited in moments.
It's and we're now kind of reaping the rewards of that with the Metallica Mondays, like. So I'm sure you know, but in case anyone doesn't, pretty much every Monday there's like a new, more often than not, a pro shot Metallica gig that premieres on YouTube. So, I think this Monday just gone, it was a show from '89 in California, the Damaged Justice tour.
Yes,
that was one of the ones that wasn't pro shot. It was actually a kind of an official bootleg, but there's so much pro shot stuff to just watch.
Oh yeah, it's all out there.
They put one out from Germany a few years back, and it was all like rarities that they played, like, not super rare, but stuff they generally don't play. Like Unforgiven 2, and I think they did. What else did they do? Something off like Death Magnetic that they don't often do.
Yes,
and that was just a blast watching that.
Rob, I need to send you the Insider Metallica bootlegs. Have you seen James and Lars doing Green Day? That's out there, man. That Germany, yeah.
Oh, is that on some like MTV Awards show or
I
something?
don't think it is.
I've
I
seen
think
them
it's some
doing
sort
like
of festival.
Nirvana.
Maybe they've done. Yeah, they do a lot of impressions like Donington '95. Like they do like Slayer and stuff like that, which is great. And kind of imitate that idea. But just getting back to you and Metallica and that kind of early, initiation into it. Like beyond Saint Anger, then when you're just exploring. Like, obviously we come from an era kind of before, but before streaming, like, were you buying the CDs? Were you torrenting on LimeWire? Like, how are you hearing the music?
I was pirating it, mate. Much
yeah.
to Lars's dismay. I
Oh
was pirating it. Like I had a desktop computer, probably a laptop at the time actually. Not that that's super important, but just paint the picture.
Yeah.
I'll have been sat there. And I think the first album that I really got into was Master of Puppets. Like, because I didn't really like Saint Anger, but that's just because it was trendy.
Yeah,
that was my intro to the band, and then I was like, right, let's see what Saint Anger's being compared to. And it just so happens, for whatever reason, Master of Puppets was the one that kind of caught my ear, caught my attention. And I just loved it, man. It was so cool, particularly the title track. Like, it's such an obvious choice. You know, it's such a staple of theirs. I think they've played that live more than any other song.
Surprised me.
I think I saw that on like Setlist FM. But that's such a great track, especially that middle section where it kind of slows down and the harmonies kick in just before the main solo. What a great piece of music! So that album's always like, that's firmly one of my desert island discs.
Oh my god, there's just so many parts.
Do you know what? Metallica were my favorite band for like so long, and then they just kind of dropped off for me. They didn't change anything. In fact, they hadn't released anything. But I just kind of stopped listening to them for so long.
Yeah, it's
and
natural.
It was only but it was only somewhat recently where, and not to bring the tone down, but I lost a friend. That a friend of mine passed away, and this guy he was called Lazaro. He was from America, and he was 52, I believe. And me and him bonded in the workplace because he'd been to a load of like early Metallica gigs in America in like the early 80s, which just sounded incredible. And he was telling me all those stories. So anyway, it was only when we lost him that I was like, I'm going to put like Ride the Lightning on, like, to kind of, give him a bit of a send off in my flat. Just put Ride the Lightning on the speakers and reflect. And that was maybe a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago. And I have not stopped listening to Metallica since. I've kind of rediscovered this like childhood sweetheart of mine. I've always liked him, but I've only gone super deep in the first maybe 4 or 5 years of me knowing them, and then in the last 2 months. And I'm in deeper than ever right now.
Okay. I mean, talk to me about these albums then. Like, what kind of eras do you like? There's a lot of splits. There's Load Reload Camp. Like, are you a fan of those records?
Not really, to be honest.
Me neither, Rob. But
I think Fuel is one of the best songs they've ever written. I think it's one of the best rock songs ever.
It really is. It's unbelievable. It's like 4 minutes free. Like,
Fuel was the only Metallica song that my dad liked. He didn't like any of the other stuff. It was too long, too complicated. He loved Fuel. And Fuel, and it sometimes gets a bit of a bad rep with some of the kind of, I don't know, some of the more old school kind of fans, I guess, if you want to call them. But I think Fuel's amazing. It's got everything. It's got a guitar solo. It's got some great drums from Lars.
The build as well, with the octaves from Kirk. Man.
It's so good.
Hot, loose, and clean. It feels like it sounds as well. It's just this revving.
It does. It really does. It's a driving fast kind of song.
It's not an ultimate driving song. Like, surely.
God, I love that song.
In the heavens. Yeah, no, Hetfield wrote a classic there. I agree. Yeah, Fuel
really
kind of
did.
Transcends those there. And
Fuel's in my top 3 songs by a mile.
Ever, or by Metallica?
Yeah, by Metallica.
By Metallica, top 3. Wow, top 3. So Masters,
I love it, man.
Masters there as well, right? in your top three?
This is tricky.
Is that?
I don't know, because since after Master Puppets, the album, I got onto Ride the Lightning. I'm kind of working in reverse here.
Yeah.
I got onto Ride the Lightning, and the title track of Ride the Lightning was just so captivating because it's got that kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's like the Ride the Lightning sound. It's a bit like kind of cold sounding and
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so the title track of Ride the Lightning is probably if I had to choose my three right now, it would probably be Ride the Lightning, Fuel, and then maybe even something like The Day That Never Comes.
Jeez.
So something much later,
great song.
because another song that I think Death Magnetic is
so underrated. Agreed.
Album. It's
one of their best.
Riff Central. Mate. It is riff. The riffs on there are mad. And The Day That Never Comes is like, mate, amazing. Judas Kiss. Day That Never Comes, I kind of see it as like I'm sure lots of people have made this comparison, but it's like a spiritual successor to One. It starts off a bit slow, it then kind of ramps up a bit, and not quite as dramatic as One, but it does have that chugging bit just before the solos kick in.
Well, the last 4 minutes of that song is instrumental, and I think it's some of their best work. You have that hammer-on stuff at the bottom, replicated by the top string, is really wild, and then you have like the classical harmonies.
I love that, and I remember trying to learn that bit, and I finally got it on my guitar at the time, and then I switched guitars, and it was, for some reason, I think it had a thicker neck or something, I had to like relearn it. This was a long time ago, mind. Yeah, I was so proud. The Day That Never Comes, actually, one of my earliest memories of playing an instrument was, I think we just heard that because they played it I wasn't there, but I think they premiered it at Leeds Fest 2008. And there was like a bootleg or something of that circulating. And I remember learning that intro, and that was one of the first things almost one of the first things I ever learned to play on any instrument. So I was really that song's quite close to me. That
it's got that kind of beginner's arpeggio to it, hasn't it? In that kind of ascending way.
Sure does.
It's pretty. And you mentioned guitar before, like I play guitar, and like some of my earliest guitar memories are learning Metallica stuff. I remember learning the King Nothing riff and that doom 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 doom, that slide at the end.
Oh, nice.
That very simple. Semitone thing, you just sort of play it, you're like, oh man, it's just so addictive. And bells as well.
You feel like a rock star, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. Even though you're playing on some shitty electric that isn't plugged in, and it's got that sort of dead sound, like
you're in the moment.
Oh man, totally. On ultimate guitar,
Oh man, speaking of that, you mentioned bells. Only recently have I finally managed to do that awkward riff that Kirk does. And it's not really difficult.
No. Yeah, it's one of those, if you think about it too much, you'll flub it up.
Yeah, and I never bothered learning that, so I would just play some random stuff over that. But it was only, in fact, I'll tell you what, we talked very briefly about Route 66. Anyone that's seen our Route 66 video, we bought an acoustic guitar for on the road, and I learned that on that acoustic guitar, that bit. Because we put it on the radio, on the stereo or whatever, and it was playing, and I was playing along, and we were filming it, and it was kind of like, the joke was, I'm always playing the guitar, annoying people, and I thought, that bit that came on, and I was like, right, now's the time. I've never bothered to learn this. I'm gonna do it now, and I just figured it out, and it was like a light bulb moment. And since then, every other day I play that song on guitar.
Yeah. Oh man, what a stack of riffs it is. And that guitar gets smashed in the video, right?
Yeah, it gets smashed up. We went into some random music shop in America. I can't remember which state we were in at the time. And we probably wanted to spend about $50 on a guitar, split it between us for the sake of the video. It'd be funny we wanted it to be a bit more cinematic than just a vlog. So we'll be like, we'll smash the guitar. It'll be really funny. The premise is that someone's really annoyed with me playing the guitar because I won't shut up. So we went into this music shop, and it's there. I think it was about $100. And I said to the guy, like, is there any movement on this? And he was like, no. And I was like, oh, that's a shame. He was like, it's a good guitar. And I was like, I know, but we just want to smash it up for a YouTube video. So that kind of got his ears pricked up a bit. He kind of asked
What
us a
did
bit
you
about what we
say?
were doing. And he liked the idea. So he was like, how much do you want to pay? So we were like, we've got 50 to play with. He was like, yeah, that's cool. And I thought that was really, really cool
Yeah,
of
that's
him.
good
And
of him.
you know, he
Yeah.
could have said, it was a little independent shop, and he could have said, yeah, but I want to be like, I want you to shout out the shop or anything. And he didn't say anything of that. And I think if we'd have remembered the shop name, we'd have definitely shouted it out. But it was at the end of the trip that the guitar got smashed.
All right, cool.
Good memory.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, people as well, obviously go check out Rob's channel. You know, we'll put links down below. Definitely check out all the stuff we're referencing. Just back in the discography in general, then Kill 'Em All. You know, one of the bigger Metallica podcasts. They did their top 10s on the recent episode. Shout out to Clint and Ethan every time. I've been on the show many times. Great episode. And they were ranking them all, Rob. And Kill 'Em All was down the bottom for both, really. Not one of their highest. But how about you?
Probably mid-table for me, yeah. Kill 'Em All. I love the kind of concept. Well, it's not even a concept, is it, at that point? I love what it represents now. Like that young, hungry, fast, kind of not much like it at the time, if anything, really. I think it's got some great songs on there. I love Whiplash. I love Seek and Destroy. Again, one of the first kind of tracks that me and my friend learned to play on guitar.
Every band jams
together.
That. Yeah.
Love Seek and Destroy. Love Metal Militia. Love the Four Horsemen.
You love them all,
but it's just not the kind.
Yeah,
I guess I do.
You see, Anesthesia, is that the one you hate? Like,
do you know? Mad respect to Cliff. He was an incredible guy. Yeah. But I never really sit and listen to Anesthesia. It's just
fair enough.
Not one for me.
Fair enough.
And I mean that with absolutely no disrespect at all. I think Orion is probably up there in my top 10 Metallica songs, you know, and that's probably just because of Cliff. So I'm a massive fan of Cliff, but Anesthesia just didn't really captivate me. I think maybe if it was on a different album with a different kind of production on it or something, I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong thing here because I know it's very beloved, but it just wasn't for me. It was Anesthesia.
I'm rating inside, never really, but, you know, as a TPD
never
guy,
really listened to it.
I'm not going to flip out right now. For the sake of Cleesby, I'm not going to flip out right now.
All right, that's good. Cleesby, praise Cleesby. But Kill 'Em All, I think it's really cool, and sometimes I'm really in the mood for Kill 'Em All. I'm really, really in the mood for it. But just less so than something like Ride, Puppets, Justice. They're probably the three go-to. And then after that is probably Death Magnetic. They're probably my top four. So those kind of three.
What about Hardwired? Have you had that much of a listen to their latest release?
Yeah, I've listened to Hardwired a few times, and I think I've been maybe negatively influenced. I like Hardwired. I think it's great. I love Spit Out the Bone. I love the title track. Atlas Rise is great. But I try and not look at anything online before I listen to something, because I can find that might kind of accidentally put an opinion in my head that's maybe not my own.
Sure. You've been incepted.
And what I mean there is someone online and somewhere said it sounds like Metallica trying to be like old thrashy Metallica, and I can't get that out of my head. Even though Death Magnetic is quite a thrashy, quite insanely riff driven, lots of strumming on that album. I think just hearing that opinion has kind of made me think of Hardwired in a bit of a bit outside of the spotlight. And it's only since that Rogan that I watched this week where Joe Rogan says to him, Joe Rogan says to James, you know, your album Hardwired's great, and James then says it's just us doing what we want to do. We make music for ourselves. That's kind of removing that from the equation. That's kind of, so I think I'm ready to give that another listen.
I mean, they are old Metallica, you know. It's one and the same.
That's it. I get it, and I do need to give it more of a listen.
Moth into Flame.
I was looking.
Classic.
I've just got a Moth into Flame is great. I had that on literally yesterday morning on my shower speaker that sounds horrendous, especially when you play something.
It sounds great on
something
that.
heavy. through it.
Boom, yeah.
Yeah,
it's just that.
But I'm kind of getting into vinyl, and I'm yet to own a Metallica vinyl. I've been looking at them, but because they're good albums, they command quite high prices. But one of the ones that I think I'll get first is Hardwired, because it's recent. There's lots of new stock out there, and it's kind of, it doesn't quite have that same status as like a Master or Ride or Kill 'Em All or Black Album. So because of that, I think you can pick it up for like a tenner. So that's going to be my first Metallica vinyl, and I'm going to sit down and listen to it properly. And I'm then going to just really try and kind of get that idea out of my head that I mentioned earlier about kind of being...
Purge yourself, Rob, of that idea. You're wasting energy on that idea. It's
annoying, man. It's annoying me. It's one of those seeds that's gone in there. And that's why I never try. That's why I never really look at music reviews or anything, because
do you like the Needle Drop? Do you watch him?
I watch him when it's stuff that I'm never going to listen to anyway. I really like Anthony Fantano. I think he's funny.
He is.
I love his Let's Argue and Let's Agree series. I love that more so than his actual album reviews. But if he reviews an album that I really like, I'll make sure I've listened to it and made my own mind up before I watch whatever he says about it. Because it's not that I will just blindly adopt someone else's opinion, but you always risk, or at least I risk, a little seed being planted that might then make me kind of lean towards one side, which maybe I wouldn't have even comprehended if it hadn't been mentioned.
And
that makes sense.
It kind of does, like Cliff Burton. It's slightly enigmatic, but I appreciate it. You seeing the band live, I know you've seen them a few times. When was the first time? Did you try early on? Because I'm thinking with similar ages. Did you see them on the World Magnetic Tour? I think that was 2009 in the UK.
Well, I didn't. I missed that tour. Right before that tour, they did Leeds Fest. They headlined Leeds Fest, and I didn't go, right? I'd never been to a festival at this point, but I was a massive Metallica fan. So, me and my friend Dan, who you'll know from the vids, who's also...
Danny White. Oh my God, love that guy.
He's a big Metallica fan as well. And we were like,
he's such a dude. Sorry, dude. Just tell him he's a dude from me.
I will do. He's out drinking at the minute with some friends from work, but I'll be sure to pass it on. Man.
I'm sure he'll watch.
Shouldn't be out too late.
Yeah. But okay. Again, people, go watch TPD. Sorry to interrupt. Continue, Rob.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So anyway, for those of you who don't know, Leeds, fantastic city. I'm a bit biased. Has the Leeds Festival in it, but it's actually significantly further away than you might think to Leeds. It's in a place called Bramham. It's nowhere near the Leeds city centre. So me and Danny, we hear that Metallica's playing in Leeds. We're like, get in. We don't have tickets. It's the day of the show, but we're going. So at this point, we're like 16, something like that.
Yeah.
We get the bus into the city centre, and we expect to just get off the bus, and we could probably hear Metallica shredding from the bus stop, right?
Why did you think this? You weren't that young. You should have known.
I know, man. I know, but I'd never
just
listen. Right?
That fresh fever.
It's a dumb thing. This is why it's a good
We've all
story.
been there. Yeah, we've all been there.
It's so dumb. We thought maybe, we used to walk around a lot, right? We used to never really use public transport. We'd walk everywhere. So we were thinking maybe get the bus into town and then maybe like a 30, 40-minute walk. And we'll be near the fence and we're able to look over and look at Metallica and watch them. Obviously, that wasn't the case, right? So I was gutted that I couldn't see them. And we were both gutted. And we always kind of laughed about that, of how naive we were, having, been to Leeds Fest so many times now and realising how unrealistic that idea was. Even if we could have got to the site, we would not have had a good experience listening to the muffled echoes of Metallica from probably a mile away still.
I didn't go to that, but I remember that Reading Lee. I think Rage were also headlining that year.
What a year that must have been. It was Rage, there was Metallica, Slipknot were there, Avenged Sevenfold were there. Who was
the other headliner, Kellas, were headlining.
Kellas, who I've still not seen. One of the bigger bands that I've not seen that do still
I'm
talk.
surprised you've been to a lot of it. I saw them at V-Fest the Samstown tour, like '07. Like they always play festivals, like.
Yeah, I'm surprised I've not seen them. It's just not happened yet. But I was going to see them. They were playing in Manchester this year on my birthday, but obviously that kind of all got cancelled. But I'll see them next schedule.
Yeah, they're doing that big tour one. Who was supporting? Was it like the Manic Street Preachers or something? I can't remember.
I think it was, yeah, because we don't mind the Manics.
The Manics are great. Like honestly, James Dean Bradfield, underrated guitar player, really good guitar player.
Well, we saw him at Kendal, which was a year ago this weekend, Kendal Calling Festival, and I know I thought I knew a few songs. You know, Design for Life. Have a great song called "It's Not War." I was amazed how many songs I actually knew. Yeah. They were so prominent on the radio when I was like younger in the car with my parents. They're awesome. Yeah. So I was kind of buzzing to be seeing them and the Kellas, but there's always next year.
There is, and next year for you in terms of, you know, way back when was the next year you saw Metallica? When was the first time you saw them?
So the first time I saw them was in 2012 at the 10-year anniversary of Download Festival. And I was wearing the Master of Puppets top on the day. I can see it now. I can see the photos. I was so excited. They were headlining the Saturday, and they were supported by Biffy Clyro, who are my current favourite band.
A band you're obsessed with, many videos.
Yeah, they've been consistently my favourite for like the last 6 or 7 years. So seeing them under Metallica was incredible, man.
Tenacious D before as well, right?
Tenacious D before. I think before that there was
Steel Panther, and then Trivium.
Like Steel Panther.
Fuck, that was a great 5 bands.
Mate, it was amazing, man. It was amazing. And Simon, Biffy Clyro have this song called "Living is a Problem," and Simon always does a little bit of guitar improv in like one of the breaks. And his guitar improv this time was Fade to Black's intro riff, as kind of like a little homage or a thank you Metallica or something. And that was me really I was just in my happy place. And it was I don't know if it was the anniversary. In fact, it must have been maybe 20 years since the Black album. So they played that in full, but they played it in reverse.
Yes.
Which was interesting. It didn't really change too much, because you know it was still great, and we still got all the hits as well. But it was awesome, and I remember screaming "Fix Me" at the Master of Puppets solo just before it started, and it was the loudest thing I'd ever shouted in my life. And my throat was killing, and it was great, man. It was a long time coming, because that was 2012. So at this point, this is a band I'd probably been really into for like at least 5 years, and then I'd come what I thought was quite close for that Leeds Fest 2008. So even after that, it was another 4 years, because going to gigs and stuff was just not. For some reason, I just told myself it's just not something that's really possible. I remember. Even as late as like 2013, Biffy Clyro did like 3 nights up in Scotland, and it was like, I can't do that. It's in Scotland.
Yeah.
Whereas I kick myself for thinking that, because just get on a bus, get on a train.
Oh yeah.
But I kind of had a bit more of a kind of sheltered outlook. So, you know, like you mentioned, the World Magnetic Tour, I probably could have just gone to like Manchester and seen Metallica on that gig, but stuff like that wasn't on my radar. I loved the music, but I wasn't really huge on gigs. And I just didn't think it was something I could really do. I don't know why. Very strange. Because now I'm certainly getting my fair share in.
And yeah, people will remember this era, the Black Album anniversary era, Skinny James with the battle jacket and the patches and the white Explorer. And, you know, they
nice.
You know, they run Donington. They've been playing there since with Bon Jovi. They were supporting and Rat and stuff. You know, they've been there. Like Steven Tyler, that famous photo of him and James, you know, backstage. I love that snap. Like, I think I'm guessing they just were kings, right?
They were amazing, man. They were incredible. Typical Laser Show for one, another one of my favourites. And I think it was during Sandman, but maybe it wasn't, where they do like the Metallica family chant that they were doing at the time. It was a big thing, and it's like crowd participation, and James was like Metallica family, and then we'd all repeat it. And Download's such an amazing place anyway, but to have, like we've already said, titans like Metallica headlining that night, the sense of unity and almost like completion was incredible, man. We were all singing, we were all part of that Metallica family, and it sounds cringy, it sounds a bit cheesy, but it was so good, and I'll never forget that night. We were at the second barrier, which isn't close to the stage, but it felt close to the stage because we were pressed against the barrier. We had a great view of the pyro, the lasers. Oh man, it was brilliant.
And just looking now at this Download 2012 lineup, I didn't know it to hand. The Sunday was outrageous. So you had Five Finger Death Punch, Kellas, Black Label Society, Lamb of God. Then get this for a top 3, listeners: Megadeth, Soundgarden, Black Sabbath. Holy fuck!
Now I'm a big fan of Megadeth.
Yeah,
I love Megadeth.
Let me guess.
There was a time.
Yeah.
Go on.
Dave's voice, was that part of it?
Dave's voice. Absolutely, I love Dave's voice. Yeah. I think I can do a mean Dave Mustaine impression sometimes, but we'll keep that one off the call because it might go south. But do you know what? I really do love Megadeth, and I went to see him, and it was kind of sad in a way. I've seen him a few times, and they're always great musically, but I think they were third from top, so they're playing firmly in the daylight, a relatively short slot, still a great slot to have. But they dedicated maybe 8 or 9 minutes at the end of their set to coming out and bowing and all getting to, like you would do if you just headlined the place. And I kind of felt a bit sad because I know the story everyone knows the story that's involved, that's into like thrash, of how kind of Dave feels. I don't know if he still feels a bit pushed out, but I kind of got the impression that night that they were kind of hoping for something a bit more than maybe 8, 9, maybe even 10 or 12 songs in the daylight. I'd love to see Megadeth in an academy or in an arena, but that day in Donington, I just got the impression that they wanted a lot more from it.
Interesting, yeah. I have to check out that set. The modern band, it's kind of hard to keep track of all the members sometimes. And,
it is.
And the
it's
sound.
Dave.
It's Dave, isn't it? Well, it's Dave Ellefson as well, yeah.
Yeah, so Ellefson's been back now for a bit, but I read something, and it was something like Megadeth is Dave Mustaine and whoever he deems worthy. Because they're an incredible band, right? You need to be an incredible musician.
You do, actually. Yeah. You've got to be a really good guitar player. There's been legends in that slot.
Absolutely. And, oh, man, I love Megadeth. I think they're amazing. It's just I felt a bit underwhelmed at that gig. I need to go to an actual Megadeth tour.
Yeah,
and Black Sabbath were good that night. Soundgarden. It was Soundgarden, wasn't it?
Yeah. You're not a Soundgarden fan, or?
No, Soundgarden were great. Soundgarden were great. Sabbath were great. I'm a little bored of Sabbath at this point, and Ozzy, I know that's kind of sacrilege.
Especially in Donington.
4 or 5 times.
Yeah. He froze buckets of water, and yeah.
But do you know what? That was the first time, so it was quite magical. My dad was a Sabbath fan. He was a Sabbath fan at the time. He was a Sabbath fan when I was a kid. We used to listen to War Pigs in the car. I remember listening to Paranoid when I was a kid in Germany on our hi-fi system. So getting to see Ozzy in the flesh that first time was amazing, man. What a great festival that was. One of my favourites.
Yeah. And I mean, so many other bands. Look, and there's even it's always fun to see bands that are huge now, like Lower Down, like Shine Down, or like on the Sunday.
Yeah, I love looking at the old lineups and seeing there's a great one. It's not very metal, but Coldplay at Leeds Fest on the introducing stage in 98 or something.
Oh, maybe man. Yeah, I think that's about right.
This is a band now that
Oh, they're
Three
Metallica
figures for a ticket.
size. They're as big as Metallica. Coldplay.
Absolutely, man. Metallica are the kind of band that could play anywhere and sell it out.
That's right.
And Coldplay are the same.
Yeah. There's only a few bands in the world that can do that. Like, yeah.
They sure are.
Obviously you guys do that on the channel quite a bit, don't you? Go through the old like Reading lead lineups and stuff.
Yeah, we like kind of the run up to festival season every year, and our viewers seem to like that. So we try and kind of come up with new festival related content, and some of that was looking through the lineups. So we've looked through like and just discussed like all the download lineups, all the Leeds Fest and Reading Festival lineups. And it's a great thing, you know. There's another year that comes to mind. I think it was like the 90s, and it's Blink-182 are on a Reading lineup again. The smallest text on the poster. They went on to headline it at least twice that I know of.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful.
Do you know? Speaking about Reading and Leeds, I saw Metallica headline Reading and Leeds in 2016 that they did it last.
That feels about right. Yeah,
and
double check that.
That was great, man. That was so good to see him in my home city with all my friends. Was amazing, and I got a really fond memory of we were stood near like the sound booth or the lighting, but whatever that booth is in the middle, right? Yeah. You know the one I mean. And there was all these beach balls tied up in bags up there, and I was like, right, they're obviously going to drop those at some point. They're going to drop these balls. So all show, I had like one eye on the band on the stage rocking out, and one eye in my mind on these beach balls that were gonna come down. Anyway, they released them, and I ran over and I grabbed one, and I was like, it was like almost as big as me, and I was like hugging it, and I was so pleased that I had this thing. It had the Metallica branding on, it had the date on. Anyway, got it home after the festival, prized possession, great souvenir. The date that they printed on it was wrong, so I've got this Metallica ball that says Leeds Metallica, and then just a random date that they didn't play Leeds.
And you still have that. You recently moved flats. Like you took it with you.
Yep, it's somewhere. Actually, you know what? I'm worried now because I don't know where it is. But we used it in a very recent video where we kind of held our own download festival at home to substitute the real thing, and it made a little cameo in there. And I tell you, it was a real pain to blow up. That thing's bigger than it looks. I was out of breath for about a full day after that.
I'm just looking at the set list now. This is August 30th, 2015 it was. Opening with Fuel.
Let me tell you. I'm sorry, I got a bit excited there. So James comes out, and you'll have seen this before on other shows, but I'd never seen this. And he comes out, and he looks a bit somber. And you're thinking, oh, God, what's happened? And he comes out and he goes, something to the tune of like, I need to make this announcement. Everyone got an announcement to make. Give me fuel, give me fire! And I was like, oh my God. And it was just the best intro to a show I've ever seen. And I was so thrilled. And what an opener. And they've opened with that a few times, I think. But
quite a few.
That was actually the last time I've seen Metallica. And we were talking, me and Dan, why didn't we go to that Manchester gig last year where it was raining? Have you seen that?
I went to the London one, but yeah, that's the legendary one. Yeah, because it's just a storm.
I really don't know what my excuse is there, because
that vlog would have been incredible. By the way,
they were playing down the road. One of my favourite bands of all time. We can't figure out why we didn't go. We must have been double booked on that day or something, because
I think Mathematics were playing somewhere, so you had to be there.
Oh, imagine if that's the reason, then I'll be very upset.
That's a very niche reference to a local Leeds. They're from Leeds. They're a really good band, actually.
They were very good. Yeah, they split now, but they were great.
What's that song they had? 4 a.m.
Vibes. Yeah, they had 4 a.m. They had a few others. They supported one of our favourites, Don Broco. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how we discovered them. But yeah, I wish I'd have gone to that. And I can tell you, this year, given that everything's been cancelled, I'm going to cram everything I can, including probably an entire Metallica UK tour into, well, as soon as I can. As soon as Metallica are back out, I'm just going to follow them around.
It'll happen.
Because
I mean, they've rearranged festival dates to next year, so They're looking to do it.
Those festival dates where they do 2 dates, I bet that's incredible. Have you seen those?
Yeah, different sets apparently.
Yeah, kind of like the Orion Festival that they did for a couple of years. Remember that? And it was like, I think it was like Ride the Lightning and Master Puppets in full on 2 separate nights.
Yeah, and they also played all of Kill 'Em All on a smaller stage as
Did
well. Yeah, under a secret name
Oh, that's awesome.
called Dahan. I don't know if you know Dane Dahan, who's in the Through the Never film and stuff like that. But
The lead, right?
yeah,
The lead
he's from like Chronicle and that shitty Spider-Man
Yeah.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah, I was reading about him actually the other day as I was reading about Through the Never. I've been really really embracing and diving into all things Metallica as of late. But yeah, that I remember hearing like, when they did the Ride the Lightning night. Apparently, that was either the first time ever or the first time in like 20 something years that they had to play Escape.
that's right.
From the Ride the Lightning album, and they just had to learn it from scratch.
Yep, the song James hates. Yeah, inexplicably.
Does it
yeah.
really?
Oh yeah, he's not. It's kind of tongue in cheek, but yeah, they dismiss that song.
Yeah,
They find it quite poppy. Yeah.
they had to relearn it. That would have been great, man. Ride the Lightning's awesome. I like Escape. I like everything on that album.
Oh yeah. It's
Trapped Under Ice.
Oh,
Very underrated, I think. Trapped Under Ice is awesome.
Fight Fire with Fire. My ears have just adjusted to
man.
actually hearing that intro properly. It's just such a blast. Like,
I was just learning that the other day, that intro, and I'm sure I've got it way wrong, but it's passable for me. But then you get into that main riff, and even Metallica skip it now. But those extra strums, as it's in between the there's like 2 muted E strings. God, that's fast.
it really truly is, and it's just there's so much and a lot of the Justice albums. There's so many riffs that have slight differences in the way they end. The whip in the tail, and James will hang on a note slightly, and just
Great.
there's just so much intelligence.
It gives the album so much like replay value. And sometimes I'm just so in the mood for that kind of compressed Justice guitar sound. Sometimes it grates me, and sometimes I love it. And lately I've been loving it. What's the song I've been listening to loads lately? I think it's the 3rd song on Justice. Is it Eye of the Beholder?
Eye of the Beholder, yeah. Oh, the chugging in that. Yeah.
God, that's incredible, that song. I'm really feeling that song at the minute. That I mean, again, doesn't sound great through my shower speaker, let me tell you, but what a track that is.
Yes, Eye of the Beholder, the 3rd track, yeah. I love the fade in that it does as well, and just, oh, man. Yeah,
it always makes me miscalculate the volume of whatever speaker I'm listening to it on because of the fading. So I'll either have it on too loud and it fades, and I'm thinking, right, it's gonna peak here, and it keeps going.
Yeah,
I'm like, right, we need to turn this down, or it's the other way.
No, my I've always had the same issue, and my friend's dad had as well. I don't know if you know Elbow, the seldom seen kid.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that record.
I am.
Good album. Guy Garvey is a gent. But yeah, the song Starlings that opens basically with silence into like a huge orchestral thrum.
Big kind of, yeah.
And in his car, my friend's dad just turned the volume too loud, thinking the CD wasn't working, and almost swerved into a post. It was that loud. So just you've got to be careful listening to Elbow.
You do. Money for Nothing by Dire Straits, similar thing.
Yes.
The world's longest, quietest intro until those drums start hitting right at the very end of the intro.
Oh my god.
You got to be careful with these things.
I want my hearing back, So yeah, I mean, as I said at the start of this episode, this was going to be sort of a little rambling chat, as it were, just going through things. I mean, Rob, I'll ask some final questions. I ask all the guests these questions, Metallica based, and a few others as well. So the first one, I mean, we've kind of touched on this. Your favourite song?
Favourite song
by the band?
By Metallica is Ride the Lightning today.
The solo, yeah. Ride the Lightning is just absolutely, unfathomably good.
It is just metal. That is a metal song.
It's fucking, yeah. It's stainless steel. What about album? What's your favourite Metallica album?
Master of Puppets. It's got to be.
I mean,
I've worn the T-shirt for too long. It can't not be. But honestly, I think Master of Puppets is incredible. I think it's a brilliant, brilliant album.
Have you heard Fight Star's cover of Leper Messiah?
I sure have. I've heard. Is it Trivium's cover of Master of Puppets?
Oh, so you know the whole Kerrang! Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's from.
It's pretty
right?
good, actually.
Bootlegs version of Creeping Death, incredible.
Oh no, who does that again? Creeping Death.
It's Bully for My Valentine, isn't it?
Who does Disposable Heroes? Is like a death metal band.
Oh God,
I don't know what they're called. They're called like Carnage or something. But yeah, Mastodon do Orion as well.
Yes, that is such a cool sound with Mastodon's like kind of signature little, their sound on it. It's great.
Mm-hmm. What about favorite member of Metallica?
It's got to be James, hasn't it? I mean, Lars. It's either Lars or James, but I think James does a lot less that the public see. So I kind of treasure anything he puts out there, any interview he does, anything he's talking about. I watched him unboxing his, he's got that book with all the vehicles in, that
Reclaimed Rust, which is like $100. Yeah, I don't think it's that much, but yeah.
I watched him captivated by his every word. Whereas with Lars, he's kind of a lot more out there. He's on the social media. He introduces the Metallica Mondays every Monday. So I think because James is a bit rarer, James is going to be my favourite. I would love to have a pint with James.
Oh my God. I mean, he wouldn't want to have one with you. He's
probably not.
Nothing personal, Rob. I mean, he's just out of rehab and stuff, but he would have
I know. I meant a pint of water.
Yeah, he'd have like elk blood or something. Something he's hunted. Yeah.
I would. Oh man, what a treat that would be.
And seeing them live, we've covered as well. It was Download and Leeds, right?
That's it, mate. So far, soon to be many more. I hope. Watch this space.
Now, the question I ask here, I know that you are planning on doing a podcast for your YouTube channel, but I want to ask you about that actually. But just before we do, I'll ask the main question that I normally ask. If you were to do a podcast like Alf Metallica about a band that you love, i.e. going through their entire discography, what's a band or bands that you would enjoy covering?
Well, we mentioned that like Biffy Clyro.
Do they have a podcast? Does anyone do a Biffy podcast? Not them
sure.
themselves, but let's have a look now because I like to Google it when people say this. But yeah, Biffy, I completely agree. I mean, great band.
There's a great Biffy Clyro community out there. So there's a lot of like pages and fan groups and stuff. I'd be surprised if someone doesn't. I'd like to do. Here's one for you. I love the Arctic Monkeys, and I feel I can get away with saying that on this podcast because Lars loves the Arctic Monkeys as well. He actually introduced them at that Orion festival.
Yep.
They were playing there, so bit of love for some indie rock there. But I think an Arctic Monkeys podcast, going through them in alphabetical order, like if
such a good idea.
I think this format would lend itself really well to a band like Arctic Monkeys.
Do you remember when their debut came out? Were you kind of cognizant?
Arctics?
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah. I wasn't listening to it, but I remember hearing about it and hearing a few select singles. I didn't think too much of it really, but I do remember because I think they broke a record that was held by someone mad like the Beatles. So yeah. I remember hearing that news, and that's about the extent of that memory. I remember hearing that news. I remember hearing Dance Floor, and he gets up and he goes, "Don't believe the hype. We're the Arctic Monkeys."
Oh my
He starts
God.
playing Dance Floor. But I didn't really get into them properly until their second album. And now their first album is my favourite by a mile.
Still your favourite, actually, because I know you're quite a big fan. I've listened to them all as well. It probably is still the best, isn't it? Like stuff like Riot Van and
Riot Van, A Certain Romance.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I just bought an electric drum kit after many years of wanting one.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good.
Mate, I'm in heaven with this.
You set an amp up. You just sing over the amp. You can cover whatever you want. It's great.
It's great. And the Arctic Monkeys' first album was one of the first song I played on my electric drum kit. The song "And Justice for All."
Damn.
There's a version. There's versions on YouTube, right, that are taken from Rock Band and Guitar Hero, and they've ripped the drums out, so it's just everything but the drums. Played along to that, after that, it was the Arctic Monkeys' first album in full. Thrashed along to that. Maybe thrashed is the wrong word for the Arctic Monkeys, but that kind of validates what I'm saying almost, because first song was Metallica, second group of songs, Arctic Monkeys. I'd do the Arctic Monkeys podcast.
I love the idea of an Arctic Monkeys podcast, I think, because they are absolutely massive. I mean, they've got like 14 million monthly listeners on Spotify.
That's the thing, like Biffy I always see Biffy as a bit of an underdog, even though they're a massive band, whereas Arctic Monkeys are, no,
they're legit. Huge. Yeah, and they broke in America, which I don't... Did Biffy break in America? I don't think they have they?
No, they do tour, but, it's very small venues, whereas Arctic Monkeys, they do some arenas over there.
Yeah, no, they definitely do. So, okay, yeah, great answer, yeah. I mean, people always float stuff on here. I don't think there's a Nirvana podcast. I don't think there's a Green Day podcast. Like, there's just loads of giant bands that are like,
oh my God, surprised.
There's like 100 of us Metallica guys out here. Like, please, no one, don't do another one. Like, there's not enough. There's not enough room. There's not enough. We've got to save the bandwidth.
It seems like Metallica has, like we said earlier, like there's no other band like Metallica. Metallica, there's just so much content and so much information and so much stuff archived that maybe they are the perfect podcast band. You can talk about, a photo shoot they'd probably do in the 80s. On a
I don't know if I'm going to do that, Rob, but maybe some people might. Yeah,
maybe
you can
maybe
come
for
on
episode 1000 when you might be running out.
When we discuss
there is so much Metallica stuff out there, man. It's insane. And they keep putting more out there.
You're right. They're feeding the machine.
They're not helping.
No, Lars isn't. But okay, well, this has been great, man. I guess finally, like your channel, stuff like that. How do people find that?
So I am part of a channel called TPDTV. It's kind of like the In-Betweeners, but with a lot more alcohol. We go to lots of festivals. We go to lots of concerts. At the minute, we are just trying to get back into the swing of making some content. So check us out. If you go on YouTube, type in TPDTV. I would hope we're the top result. If we're not, then I need to do some work there.
Yeah, get some SEO on it. But yeah, I wholeheartedly endorse TPD. Apologies, to our listeners and to Rob for my, incessant frothing and fanboying over this channel. But, it is legit brilliant to the point where, like, again, I'm not trying to kiss your ass here, but there's like quotes from the show that me and my girlfriend just use. Like, there's certain things that you say, like, Rob, I know you're going to hate hearing this, but like natural spring water, for example.
Listen, I love it. I love hearing stuff like this. It's very, very much appreciated. And the natural spring, for anyone that doesn't know, very
people are thinking, what the fuck?
There was a bit of a meme in our community about a bottle of water. That's it, right? And everyone kept saying natural spring water, natural spring water, natural spring water over and over again. I never got sick of that. I'll never get sick of it. I think it's funny. Sometimes I'll play as if, God, not again. Yeah. But I love it, man. And I love the support, and your kind words really mean a lot. This has been a blast. And my commitment to you and the listeners is I'm going to listen to Anesthesia a few times.
Look, just
a considered listen, and I'm going to try and give it some of the respect that it deserves.
Yeah, it's a kind of, it's an expansive proggy,
and on
basically.
S&M 2, there's a version of that, isn't there? S&M 2 is coming out soon.
Very soon, there is, yeah. Did you see it in the cinema?
I didn't, but a friend of mine went to the thing, and I am so jealous. He said it was amazing, but I would love to have seen it in the cinema. I'm going to pre-order that vinyl, I think, after I've got my hardwired one, because there's a really nice vinyl set, which comes with a Blu-ray, so I'll watch that. But Anesthesia, I'll check in with you, Tom, in a week, and I'll let you know where I'm up to with Anesthesia.
All right,
and I'm sure I'll have discovered something that I love about it.
I hope so, and I will get back to you on Suck It and See. The Arctic Monkeys record, which I've never really listened to.
That's my least favourite, to be honest. But I'll do the trade. I'll do the trade.
Oh, Don't Sit Down Because I've Moved Your Chair. That was one of the singles, wasn't it? I remember that song.
That was. It's a staple of their live show to this day.
Big riff. Song. Big riff.
Very big riff. Drop D as well, song.
It's like their sort of... Is it Drop D? Okay, God, okay. Well,
I think it is. I might have embarrassed myself.
No, I think you're right. It certainly feels that way, yeah.
I play it in Drop D anyway. So
all right. Well, yeah, it's got the Kellas endorsement. So yeah, guys, again, we'll push you towards TPD, links down below. You can follow us at Metallica Pod. Get in touch with me, metallicapod@gmail.com, if you want to come on the show. We've got some cool stuff coming up. As I said, we're doing the Cliff Burton episodes, the Mega Histories. Also making my notes for an episode where we're going to talk about all the TV shows and films Metallica's music has appeared in and what we can infer. It's been in The Sopranos and obviously The Simpsons and loads of other weird stuff that I found on IMDb. So that'll be fun as well. We got the compilations coming out. Lulu should be out soon as well. Patreon is there. If you want to give back to the show, listen to the episodes first. iTunes, please leave us a review. And Rob, sincerely, thank you so much for coming on.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a blast, truly.